with a premier institution of our region, right? That is Professor Ram Meghe Institute of Technology and Research. And I could see most of my colleagues here uh, with whom or rather I have studied and I have worked together for many occasions. So I welcome you all for this, and I personally welcome Dr. Marathe sir for this particular session. As Ankit has rightly pointed out, that is, we will have 8 different themes under NEP 2020. And under those themes, you will be exposed to various aspects of NEP. Right? So NEP basically talks about holistic education, and it talks about the overall development of the student, and it talks about, I should say, the student-centric approach. Right? So on these themes, you will be exposed by various academicians. And one of the great academician, as I used to say many times, that the Bhishma Pitama of our region, Dr. Anand Marathe sir, is with us for this inaugural session. So I welcome you, sir. And with this note, I once again thank Bamnote sir and the management of PRMITNR for collaborating with our MMTC. And with these few words, I request the today's speaker, Dr. Anand Marathe sir, to please start his session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, at the outset, as usual, I express my sincere thanks to Dr. Atik sir and my friend Ankit for giving a dose of good words before I start our session. Let us also thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, our Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar of our University, Director of erstwhile UGC HRDC, now Madan Mohan Malviya Teachers Training Center, Dr. Atik sir, and complete technical team, including Ankit and his fellow colleagues, as well as let me thank our renowned and truly the leading institution of our region, Professor Ram Meghe Institute, PMRTI, what is commonly known as, where research is also very specifically given in the name, and truly they are on the path. They dare to take autonomy also. So their caption is "Where Eagles Dare." So really, I am very happy to be with these great two institutions. So my special thanks to Dr. Bamnote sir and Dr. Tushar Deshmukh sir, who was our registrar of our university and who was very actively involved in getting the things developed regarding NEP 2020 at our university. I was a team member under his able leadership. So I welcome you all. Now, let us, it is about up to two, we will be having a session. Most of those who are with us on this platform are very learned. They already know, have implemented many of the things. So it will be a very good interactive session and lot of learnings for me also when we will interact with each other during this course. Let us divide this in our two sessions. One session of about say 75 minutes. Then we will take a break of say 5 to 10 minutes because it's very, I know how difficult it is for audience to remain connected for about 180 minutes in continuous. But if his audience is ready, I will not even take that 10-minute break. But tentatively, I plan to have two sessions of 75 minutes each, and few last after 5-10 minutes break, we will again continue for another 75 minutes, and 10-15 minutes we will keep for interactive session, what generally is called as question answer session. Secondly, what we will do, this whole topic, we will divide it into say 3 parts, something what we call it as, you can say, philosophy of NEP, because once we understand how this document got evolved, then it will be easy for all of us to get aligned with ultimate objective of our today's session. So at the end of this 180 minutes, what I expect learning outcomes will be everybody will should be able to appreciate the journey of NEP, the expectations in terms of education. What do they mean by education in this policy? What is the speciality, how it is national and how it will get aligned internationally, since it is a evolved document. So we have to implement it. There is no other way but to go ahead. That is what we will be able to appreciate at the end of our sessions. We will be able to appreciate the purpose and aims of education, how multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach is expected, and then the you can say instruments to implement this policy, and what is that is national, what is common for everybody, whether it is X institute at some location or other institute at some other location, whether it is university, whether it is autonomous, whether it is affiliated, whether it is a standalone, everybody of us will be working under one common frame. So at the end of our session, I hope everybody of us will be able to understand that common framework. In between, we will have flexibility, but everybody will be operating under framework. So at the end of our today's session, it is expected learning outcome that everybody has very well understood and appreciates the framework under which we will be operating. So these are our learning outcomes, and this is how we will be dividing our session. So with everybody's permission, let us begin our first 10-15 minutes to understand evolution of this policy. Again, I repeat, why this appreciation of evolution is required? Because that will decide our journey where we are leading to. Friends, this, even though it is National Education Policy of 2020, its process, its journey started somewhere after when last policy in 1986 or so, India has adopted so new education policy of 86 or around so. What happened in around 87 was Washington Accord, which necessitated some benchmarks, some parameters, benchmarking and attainment of those benchmarks to standardize the global, particularly engineering education. So you will find that was one of the milestones, and its imprints we can see in this policy also. Second was somewhere 92 when India as a country adopted globalization strategy, and education being service sector, it was necessary to get aligned with global standard. So we will find that also milestone in this policy. Third big event at international level was somewhere 1997 when the UNO, United Nations Organization, has accepted a document known as Our Common Future. It was, the committee was headed by Prime Minister of Norway, and that report was known as Brundtland Report. And whole world was shaken with and had accepted that report. And that common future, our common future, that report was about changing the concept of development into sustainable development. The deliberations and various international conferences after that report, Brundtland report, resulted into common Bonds Declaration. First Johannesburg Declaration came, then many agreements came, and Bonds Declaration came into 2004. And that was where you will find the content of Bonds Declaration getting reflected in national education policy of our country also. What was the highlight of that Bonds Declaration? That now world has accepted the concept of sustainable development, and the future of sustainable development is on the shoulder of education in general and technical education in particular. That was the Bonds Declaration. That is how the ultimately implementation of 17 sustainable development goals was somewhere and to large extent became the responsibility of education sector of every country and technical education in particular. Then IT revolution was another thing which you will find its milestone or its reflections in policy. So this is a document evolved from somewhere 1987 to somewhere 2013-14 when ex-ISRO chairman Kasturi Rangan sir, along with distinguished academicians, some from world and of India, 9-member committee Navaratna, they had come out with the draft policy, which after deliberation, declaration on public platform, discussions at various level, finally accepted as national education policy. So Ministry of Human Resource Development has now become the Ministry of Education, MOE now it is. So it is how this as a policy document it was accepted. Now we are in the implementation stage, or we can say that it is also already implemented. We are in the process of journey from going from local to pan nation, and from pan nation getting aligned with global standard. So NEP document is in a way journey from local to global as far as education sector is concerned, and we will be more concerned with higher education sector. So with this, some understanding of journey, so one takeaway from our this 10-15 minutes deliberation is that it is a evolved document with lot many international deliberations, national deliberations, experts inputs, and it is something which is irrecoverable. We cannot go back. It is nation's commitment to the world, and we have accepted the challenge of shouldering, say, sustainable development of this earth through our education policy also. Now, this policy is based on 5 important pillars. You will find access, equity, and affordability. They come from concept of sustainable development, SDG. Various 17 goals are there. So we will find its roots in sustainable development concept, where economy, society, access to all and equity. So three important pillars is access, equity, and affordability. So while implementing, target is to increase gross enrollment ratio. The concept is to integrate various, whether it is online, offline, formal, informal, non-formal, whatever may be the mode of education. So all let up the student learn from any mode of education or any type of education, everything has to be integrated and brought into one common format. That is how we have to increase the accessibility, equity, and methods have to be taken to ensure the affordability. Another pillar of quality, it comes from Washington Accord, NAC, NBA. So this pillar has come from Washington Accord. So we are not unaware about these 4 pillars, but we have to take care of fifth pillar, that is accountability. So our focus when we will be implementing, see there are two goals. One is short-term goal of NEP 2020 and second are long-term goals. We have to take care that maybe in short term, the fifth pillar of accountability, we may not find its presence too much in near future, but definitely it will play its role when the long-term goals will start getting approached. So we have to keep, whenever we implement NEP, we have to keep these 5 pillars in mind and according to go ahead. So this is takeaway is, it is the 5 pillars are there and those 5 pillars should not go out of sight. So we have to ensure increasing gross enrollment ratio. We have to ensure, recognize every mode of learning, and we have to third thing ensure integration of learning with some certain standardization where the framework will play its own role. We will understand how that integration and standardization will take place, and whole education, how it is getting converted from academic education to the competency-based education, from year-based education into age and level-based education. So there are mechanisms of ensuring access, equity, and affordability through certain mechanisms. That is the topic of our today's discussion. Now, next part we should understand of NEP is it is that policy is given in 4 parts. Part 1 is school education, part 2 is higher education, part 3 is other areas of focus, and part 4 is making. Today's discussion, we will be more concentrating on higher education. If possible, we will give some thrust on technical education also. So we will have to understand education also. So our takeaway from these last 2-3 slides are we will be talking about mainly focusing about higher education and technical education to some extent because it is for PMRITI. So we will taking some aspects of technical education too. Now, third part, or you can say next part, is now we were trying to understand what is this national, what is this education. So national, because it is a journey from local to pan India and through pan India to globalize. So everything, irrespective of mode of education, type of institution, which institution one is learning, the whole system will ultimately converge into more learning and credit based rather than mode of learning. So this is what is the, in a way, complete standardization and giving a common framework for all types of institutions in the country. That is how the national part comes. Now, what is, you can say, concept or how education is pursued? Let us understand for a few minutes, because once we understand how the, as a concept of education is pursued in this policy document, then while implementing, we will be able to plan our thing because we know now what do the education mean. So the instruments which have come out of implementation of this policy states the concept of education accepted in this policy. So a mention of Western thoughts is also given. So the concept of education from Western thoughts like Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle, if we combine, ultimately you will find that it is bringing out of ideas from the already, which is already present in the latent part in the mind of every man. This is the, around this thought only Western thoughts rotate or revolve regarding the concept of education. In national education policy, the concept of education is taken from Swami Vivekananda's concept of education. And you will find that this is not different than what Western philosophers also have preached. So here, as per this policy, is the concept of education is manifestation of divine perfection, which is already within an individual. So we have to understand that when we use the word teach, that is why in policy you will not find much on teaching. Everywhere learning and learning outcome. These two words are used. The basis of using learning and learning outcome. Outcome is something which comes out. Is the concept of education in this policy is that every individual, whomsoever is human being, is already having some qualities, some attributes within. The role of we, the institution, whether university, whether autonomous or affiliated, or we, the teachers, is to facilitate, to extract, or to help that individual to take out the already hidden attributes and qualities from that individual. So approach will be making individual will be our ultimate goal, and our role will be to facilitate, to take out inner already hidden talent, so that once that it is manifested, then that talent he will be used to lead a happy life. This is what is the concept of something like inside out, and we are the facilitator. So our concept that I teach somebody, then somebody learns, is no more valid when we say NEP is implemented. The valid statement will be already there are attributes, and we are helping and facilitating that individual. So it is complete individual learners, you can say, focus to help him to take out whatever are hidden qualities in inside. So inside that individual. So our role as a teacher is more of a facilitator than a preacher. So preaching is not expected, but facilitation process is expected from with the institution, let it be individual, institute, or university. This is what I understand when they clearly state what is the concept of education. And second thing, what are those attributes? That is also very clearly given in the concept of education. The attributes related to knowledge, which comes out from, you can say, information. So knowledge is one attribute. Second is skills, psychomotor things. So skill is second important attribute. And third is values and dispositions, attitudes and behavior. So we have to help individual to give or take out best of the that individual attributes through imparting, exchanging, imbibing relevant knowledge, by imparting relevant skills, and by making an ecosystem where attitude, behavior, values, and dispositions. This is the area in which we will be operating, and education will integrate the complex of knowledge, attitude, and skill. So takeaway is education means manifestation. So our role is a facilitator, and in three domains we have to ensure all things about manifestation will be in three domains. One will be knowledge, second will be attitude, and third will be skilling. And whole policy, if we read in this perspective, you will find everywhere learning and learning outcomes, and knowledge, skill, and behavior values. The whole policy revolves around these five, you can say, terms: learner, learning outcome, knowledge, attitude, and skill. These are the five catchwords which we should keep in mind when we will go ahead in our interaction, as well as when we will try to implement NEP at our own level. Now, once we have understood the evolution of NEP, concept of what is education, then immediate three domains we have also understood. The next question, actually, you can say answered in this policy, is purpose and aim of education. So purpose of education system. So we have to orient ourselves to achieve this purpose and aim. That is the clear mandate. And purpose is to develop complete good human being with rational thought action. So you will find compassion, empathy, resilience, scientific temper and creative. So these are values, ethics, dispositions which have to be, you can say, development. That is our one target. Second is engaged, productive, and you can say contributing citizen. So contributing, productive. So this is our mandate given to us. And third, to develop equitable, inclusive, plural society. So the purpose is given, and to achieve this purpose, very clear aim is also given. So goal, what we have to do? So we have to do cognitive development. Number two, character, holistic individual, and third, 21st century skills. So what to achieve the purpose, the aim is cognitive development, you can say holistic development, and skill. 21st century skill means 21st century skills. So our mandate is to impart education, means to develop the student in these three areas. That is the purpose or aim given to us. And remember the fifth pillar, accountable. So later on, when the system of accountability will be there, we will be held accountable for these three areas with two focus: learning outcome in the areas of knowledge, skill, attitude, behavior. So that is the mandate of policy. Now, again, it is very clearly mentioned that the education system will enable. So program outcome, course outcome, everywhere you will find it begins with to enable. For us as a policy implementer, what is mandate, what is the outcome for which we will be accountable? We have to ensure a system to enable individual. What I find everywhere is the individual word. So whole system as a class, as a group, will ultimately lead finally, when it comes to truly after decade or so, this policy will be implemented. Individual learner will be the focus, not to class of student. So to enable individual, everywhere individual word is there, and I find it that this is something very different, that complete education is revolving now around the individual learner, not on a class or something. So we have to enable individuals to study one or more specialized area of interest at deep level, develop the character, and also imbibe the 21st century capabilities across a range of disciplines: science, social science, arts, humanities, language, as well as professional, technical, and vocational subjects. So types of education are also mentioned. Programs under various types of education are also given, and mandate is multidisciplinary concept. So engineering college in isolation probably will not be there. Even engineering college will have social sciences. Even science and social sciences will have humanities, languages, and technical, professional, vocational. So in every institution will have opportunities or facilities where an individual can take something professional, something technical, something vocational, something social science, something science, and along with domain of knowledge and skills too. So this is what is expected in this policy. So our march will be toward this direction. And very, very clear mandate given to us where the word must is used. Therefore, what we will be accountable is our education system must prepare students for what? Number one, meaningful and satisfying lives. What does it mean? When the student learns with us, goes into the profession, we have to monitor and we have to ensure that in latter part of the life of the student, he is leading a meaningful, arthapurna jivan and satisfying life. Successful shabda वापरलेला नाही. There is a difference in concept of satisfaction and happy life vis-a-vis successful life. So what for we are giving education? So that a learner at later stage will lead arthapurna and sukhi jivan. This is what we have to ensure that it will be the one of the outcome we have to achieve. Second is we have to prepare for their future job roles or work roles. What is the takeaway for me from this second mandate given to me? That when I try to facilitate students learning in first year, I have to keep in mind that after say 4 or 5 years, whatever job role he is expected to go, means I should know if a student is learning civil engineering, what are the various areas in which he may be operating, right from postgraduate academic to professional stream, in which area student is likely to work after passing out from my institution, and after 2 3 years of initial internship or something, I have to prepare the student for the job role or work role when he will be doing after 5, 6 years, after when he is my student. And third, we have to prepare to enable their economic independence. So when I see the pillar of accountability, for what I am accountable as a teacher, I am accountable that my individual student leads meaningful and satisfying life. My student is prepared for his or her future job role. So he will feel that whatever I am doing, the knowledge skill I have got in my college days, my first year itself. And I have to ensure that my student also gets economic independence. So these are the three mandates given to us by NEP. And probably at later stage, we will be accountable, or our, you can say, work will be measured against this important parameter on what our students are doing. That is how we will be assessed for our work. Suppose I am teaching first year, so I will be assessed for my this first year after 6 years, depending upon my this batch is doing something like that. But one thing is very sure, these three areas mandates are given. When we say that we are implementing the NEP, we have to keep eye on this mandate. Now, it's okay. We have understood pillars. We have understood what education is meant by this policy. We also understand what are purpose and objectives and aim, to be more specific, of this policy. What are the mandates given to the facilitator, that is, we the teacher, institutions or university. Now, how to go ahead, that is also given in NEP. We have to understand that way ahead, and we have to implement when we actually come to our preparation of that standard practices to implement it. What does this policy say? It says that education must move towards less content. See, when we design the syllabus, we have to keep this in mind. The policy states that education must move towards less content. Because information and knowledge, they are more towards knowledge now rather than information. Then more towards learning. Again, see, everywhere word learning and learning outcome is there. To think critically and solve problems. So we have to design education for making our student critical thinker, analytical thinker, and problem solver. One thing, we have to go our create our you can say syllabi, etc., toward this direction. It has to be creative and multidisciplinary, and it should lead to innovation, adaptation, and absorbing new material in novel and changing field. In one word, we have to give higher level of, say, Bloom's taxonomy. It should be multidisciplinary. And most importantly, how to learn is to be learned in college. So this is lifelong learning will be there. With every changing, new material will come, new processes will come, new applications will come, and students should be able to learn and adapt themselves with every time changing situation. So how to learn is the learning part, most important part in our formal way of, that is college level learning. Now again, we have to ensure that it is not only cognitive capacities, but foundational capacities and high order cognitive capacities like critical thinking, problem solving, also social, ethical, emotional capacities and disposition. So this is what, when we go ahead, we have to keep this in mind. Now let us understand, there at number of places, academic education, vocational education, technical education, professional education, such type of words are used in the policy. And while implementation, it is expected that integration, see, equity and access, formal, non-formal, informal, any online mode, offline mode, distance learning, face-to-face learning, all types of mode of learning are recognized in this policy, and it is expected to integrate various modes. Even a student who has undergone learning through informal or non-formal has to give access, and it has to be considered equitable with those who go formal education. Now, for that, very clearly, the types of education, particularly I will be talking about higher education and its types, we have to understand, because once we understand types of education, then its integration into multidisciplinary system will be easy for us to do. So let us understand types, and this is what on basis that credit framework and curriculum framework and qualification framework are based. That is why it is necessary to understand the type of education. So now, as per policy and other government policy documents, it may not be directly mentioned in policy, but they are given in other instruments developed by statutory authorities for implementation of NEP. So what does it say? First, they have defined higher education. What is higher education? School education, higher education. So as per government norm, higher education is obtained after completing 12 years of schooling or equivalent. Informal will also be do. And that after 12 years of schooling, minimum 9 months full time. So almost 1 year. That will be considered as higher education, or after completing 10 years of schooling duration of at least 3 years. Say for example, a student has joined diploma after 10 years, after 10th schooling, 3 years diploma. So diploma does not come under higher education. 10 plus 3, then he will come into higher education. Or a student has undergone something 12 years of schooling plus 1 year. So just like after 12 years of schooling, HSSC student can take direct admission to diploma second year. So 1 or 2 years of school diploma will also make him into higher education. So let us understand what the higher education is. 12 years of schooling or 10 plus 3 years of, you can say, from 10th onward. Now, the education can be of nature. Now, types they have mentioned. General education, what we call it as academic or non-professional education, BA, BCom, BSc, just to name. But one is general education, second is vocational education, third is professional education, fourth is technical education, very clearly mentioned. Why we should understand? Because all these four streams of or types of education are expected to get integrated when it comes to implementation of NEP in higher education. So let us understand what are the types of courses, and then we will understand the types of education in short. The courses are generally classified. Again, it is from Ministry of Education's, you can say, document. They have classified into two categories. One is STEM courses and other are non-STEM courses. So STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And second, non-STEM courses such as, say, education, humanities, accounting, marketing, English, journalism, etc. So generally, courses are classified as STEM courses and non-STEM courses. And now, when we go to types of education, so general education, we know it is academic education. More, it is, you can say, it is a descriptive knowledge-based education. Generally, it talks more about theoretical parts or more about, you can say, generic sort of the education information converting into knowledge. And what is, it answers generally what is question, and procedural answers how it is. So general education is general academic education whose focus is more on cognitive domain. So less on, you can say, psychomotor domain. So this is what is generally we call it as general higher education. And into just to understand from by giving example, BA, BCom, BSc generally we call it as academic education and whose focus used to be cognitive domain. Second is vocational education. Let us understand in part 2 of higher education, NEP has very clearly mentioned what is vocational education, and it is specifically to the address the specific practical challenge and work situation in the economy. So in vocational education, the set of practical competencies. So it is more on psychomotor skill. So practical competency, but not general, in specific area of work in the economy that requires knowledge, skills, attitude related to that field of work. So vocational education, something more of than ITI, higher level of ITI, more of, you can say, polytechnic level of education, where focus will be more on psychomotor domains, and other components of knowledge and attitude are also given. So it integrates complex of knowledge, attitude, and skill, which is expected in NEP, but for a particular occupation. That is how the vocational education is defined. And friends, let us remember, vocational education will be integrated in our professional engineering education, or in, for that matter, any of the higher education. Concept of vocational education has to be integrated into it. So this education prepares people to work in trade, craft, or technician or support role in professions, various professions, agriculture, technology, travel, tourism, etc. And as per AICT, this is from AICT, that vocational education or vocational education and training prepares the learner for the jobs. See, we have to prepare the learner for their job role. So in case of vocational education, they are prepared, which are basically manual or practical activities, traditionally non-academic and totally related to specific trade, occupation, vocation, in which the learner will participate. So this is the definition given in AICT also. And generally, it can be at secondary or post-secondary level. Up through earlier, it was through apprenticeship system. Now it will be recognized through partial academic credit in tertiary education also, that is university education also. And post-secondary level vocational education is typically provided by ITI-like institution. So their vocational education will be at two levels. One will be post-secondary, but below, you can say, higher education. And second will be vocational education in higher education also. So accordingly, level will change. So vocational education prepares students for different kinds of work. It enables learners specific knowledge, specific capacities and values through independent subjects which are integrated with other subjects, and student is ready to work in one vocation or other, and the student will be able to deal day-to-day practicalities of life. It is past focus. Earlier, it was focused on 11 or 12, what we used to call as MCBC or something like that. And it was a bit, the clear pathways were not there for vocations in mainstream or academic education. But now, development of vocational capacities will go hand in hand with the development of academic and other capacities. This is the mandate of NEP regarding vocational education. Just to sum up, earlier vocational education, which is for preparing the student for specific occupation, and generally was focused up to 12, say from ITI or MCBC, and it was not there in academic stream higher education, but NEP mandates. See, in case of engineering, vocational part was already there. So it was not much, it is not much difficult for with the engineering education providers. But for other than non-professional systems, they will have to ensure the integration of vocational part also in mainstream or academic stream. So this is the takeaway from this. And vocational will have specifically, it is based on procedural knowledge. We know knowledge are two types, descriptive knowledge and procedural knowledge. So vocational education is mainly focused on, you can say, procedural knowledge. This is what is, and second part of vocational education is competency. So vocational value, knowledge and development of competencies like basic skills and allied knowledge of the work associated with material and procedures, and essential value while working in specific vocation. So vocational education encompasses procedural knowledge and competency. And this part of, you can say, vocational education will also be integrated in our mainstream or academic education. So takeaway for this vocational education few slides is, we have understood what is vocational. It is targeted for hands-on or practical competency in specific vocation in the field of economy, and it has got procedural knowledge component and competencies, that is skilling for that particular vocation. Now these two things will be integrated in our mainstream or academic, you can say, stream. So vocational education will be the integral part of higher education, is the takeaway after understanding what is technical education. Second type of education mentioned in the National Education Policy 2020 is the word used is technical education. So this technical education includes both degree as well as diploma program, say in engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, etc. Now, as per AICT, I have taken the help of AICT handbook, etc. This technical education is for academic and vocational preparation. See, now technical education is or has already integrated vocational part into academic stream. So in technical education, academic and vocational preparation are given, in which involves applied science and modern technology. It emphasizes the understanding of practical application of basic principles of science and mathematics rather than attainment of proficiency in manual skills, which is the concern of vocational education. So vocational education revolves around proficiency in manual skills, while technical education is a larger canvas which takes care of academic as well as vocational. It means principles of science, but in applied sense. So basic principles, science, mathematics will be there from academic part of it. In case, of course, it will be in applied form, as well as some part of manual skills for a particular occupation in the, you can say, economy. Combination of these two is technical education, and after taking technical education, one may lead of obtaining degree or diploma also. Now, technical education has very clear objective of preparation of graduate for occupations, which occupations that are classed above skill craft, but below the engineering professional. So, truly speaking, diploma or early years of engineering, you will find skill craft or ITIs, engineering professionals are degree holders, and the, you can say, strata in between these two is technical education, and those who are technically qualified, that is not in the professional, are generally called as technical education. Now this technical education is distinct from professional education. Now in case of professional education, it places emphasis on theories, it places emphasis of understanding of principles of wide body of subject matter. It gives, you can say, skill and designed attributes to a graduate, and after getting professional education, they can practice, they should be able to practice authoritatively in the field of science, engineering, law, medicine, architect, etc. So vocational education is different, technical education is different, professional education is different, and we will find that we are in the area of professional education. So we have to integrate. Generally, we have already done it also. Academic, vocational, technical, and then it will a combination of that plus professional part of it will constitute a professional education. So very clearly it is expected that professional education will have more on critical and interdisciplinary thinking, discussion and research, innovation. So our syllabi and our SOPs of implementation will revolve around critical thinking, interdisciplinary thinking, more on experiential learning, having component and research on innovation. So this is the area we have to imbibe in our professional education. It will take care of vocational, technical, general, academic, as well as professional component. Now, once we have understood what is education, what is the purpose of education, what are the aims and objectives of education, what are the clear-cut mandates for us to when we say we impart the education, probably the area in which we will be held accountable once NEP is totally implemented. Now let us go into actually implementation part of this, what we call it as education. So as we know, right from the beginning, NEP has very clearly given it is the manifestation of, you can say, divine perfection in three domains. One domain is knowledge domain. Now, knowledge has got, again, as we know, two types. One is descriptive knowledge, and second is, we know that this is procedural knowledge. What do we mean by descriptive knowledge? Some statement is given, Earth revolves around the sun. So this is given to us. Or Mahatma Gandhi has laid his life for Indian freedom. So this is something in a descriptive part, theories are given, and we try to verify, but we accept it. We take it expressed as concept and principle. And this reveals us the truthfulness of the word. In a way, even though this appears to be factual, the we generally do not go to verify those factual. We accept it as a fact. But in NEP, it is expected that merely remembering such fact will not suffice. We should have ability to reason about these facts are true. So when we say some Newton's law, Archimedes principle, it is not expected in this education that any laws or principles which we state are to be remembered. In fact, henceforth assessment system, laws, some formulas, it may be already given in assessment areas. In examination paper also, we may give the formula required to be used in solving any numerical. In this form of education, it is not expected that students remember the facts or formulas. What is more important is its applicability and reasoning out that whatever is stated, that fact, whether it is true or not. So this is the area in which descriptive knowledge is expected in NEP. And second is procedural knowledge, that is capacities. So knowing how. So how to communicate, how to think critically, what are the abilities and skills required through this form of knowledge to best to act based on our understanding. So this is what will be there in our knowledge domain. So we have to understand when we will operate in first domain out of the three domains of education, let it be any type of education. Let it be vocational, let it be technical, let it be general, let it be academic, let it be professional. Only depth and breadth of each domain will change, but everybody will be operating in the three domains. That is what is the commonality of NEP. Irrespective of type of domain, our first domain in which every educator will operate is knowledge domain. It will be in two types, descriptive and procedural knowledge. This is what is the first part. And we know that this cognitive knowledge, as per Bloom's taxonomy, everybody of us knows that remembering is the lowest step. So in our higher education, recalling the information such as describe, list, retrieve, name, find, state, what is the formula, such type of focus on such that level should be minimum. And as we go ahead, it should be more towards applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, less emphasis on remembering and understanding. So questions like interpret, summarize, explain, such type of level there can be to some extent, but major emphasis should not be on remembering and understanding. The question comes, is it not necessary to remember or to understand in education? It is necessary. But is it sufficient? Answer is no. Is it necessary? Answer is yes. But is it sufficient? Answer is no. So necessity is minimum. You can only from where to get that law, from where to get that information. That is how to learn that information should be sufficient. But more emphasis should be on applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. This is the mandate of NEP in cognitive domain. So second domain. Now this is how the qualification later on at the end of our session or second part of our session, when we will try to understand qualification descriptors, that time relevance of what we are right now discussing will come. There we will have to remember we will be giving descriptor in three areas. One will be, you can say, knowledge or cognitive domain. And under that cognitive domain, as we will go from one level to higher level, so we will be going through that Bloom's taxonomy. In any way, remembering and understanding will be minimum, and other four steps will be going as we go from first year to second, second to third, and third to final year, like that. So those levels of Bloom's will also go higher and higher. For that, understanding the cognitive domain and its levels was necessary. Now, second domain in which we will be operating is skills domain, commonly called as psychomotor domain. Capacity or skill is the ability to be consistent and repeatable. This is the important word in case of skill. So when we will design our practicals of any of the courses in college, we have our outcome will be consistency and repeatability. That is what is the, you can say, outcome expected in hands-on. And it should, the student should be able to adapt it to different situations. So this is the concept of skilling or capacity. So what is the, you can say, expected learning outcome? Student should be able to exercise ability successfully, not just once, but many times consistently and accurately, and should be able to work with different material and different conditions and different number. So this is the outcome expected when we say that capacity is imbibed into the student. There are two terms which we should clearly understand. One is something competencies and other is learning outcomes. These competencies are learning achievements which are observable and can be assessed systematically, continuously, while learning outcomes are attained over the period of time. So we should be able to clearly distinguish between competencies and learning outcomes when we will be operating in psychomotor or skills domain. Again, this also as per Bloom's taxonomy, this psychomotor is also having 7 stages, Saptapadi, and in school education generally will be, school education will be operating in first 3 stages, get, set, go. That is perception, set, and guided response. While in higher education, our, you can say, the stages will be minimum, lowest will be guided response, and highest will be organization, passing through mechanism, complete overt response, and adoption. So when we will go for qualification descriptor, when we will understand, you can say, qualification framework, that time in this second domain of psychomotor domain, our descriptors will be in the stages of minimum guided response, more mechanism. Again, as we go higher and higher, it will go, and finally creating new, you can say, patterns for specific situation, which is called as organization. So this is how our stages in framing the syllabus, implementing the syllabus, assessing and examining the learner. So this we have to keep in mind when we will design our qualification. So I repeat, our second domain in which we will be, you can say, imparting education will be psychomotor domain, and the stages will be higher, minimum should be guided response. Get, set will not be the part of higher education, but more from guided response for first semester or so. To seventh, eighth semester, it will go to creating new pattern. So this is how our description will go. This is how our level elevations will go. And this is how our qualification from certificate, diploma, advanced diploma, and degrees of that type of journey will be there. And third domain in which we will be operating is affective or values and dispositions. Values and dispositions are very important, and great emphasis is given in NEP on this domain. Probably earlier this domain was not given full focus in earlier education system, but after implementation of NEP, due weightage and importance is given to this domain also. Values are beliefs about what is right and what is wrong, while dispositions are attitude and perceptions which are formed on the basis, which form the basis for behavior. So values, ethics, attitude, and behavior, in these four sub-domains, our development of the student or taking manifestation of students' attributes will have to be done by we the educator in this domain. Again, there are stages in this domain as well. So from receiving, responding, value, organization, and internalizing, you will find when we will go to qualification descriptors, depending on the level, say lower level, certificate level, technician level, or supervisor level, the expected attitude, expected attributes in affective domain like values, ethics, and dispositions will be something different. While at higher level, degree or postgraduate or research level, you will find expectation of development of attributes in value domain will be different. So takeaway for these three domains is we should understand the what is education, what for education, what is aim of education, what is the mandate given to us, and when we say that we are educating, what are the attributes we are expected to manifest from individual, and those will be in three domains, and each domain will have various stages as per Bloom's taxonomy. And we at higher education, we will be operating into higher levels in three domains, and understanding of three domains and levels or stages of each domain is the basis for qualification framework, which we will be now entering. Now, I think we are on the verge of first part of 75 minutes. So if we think we should break for 5 minutes, we will take break. If we feel no, it can be continued, I can continue for our second, that is implementation. First part, understanding what is NEP, what is journey of NEP. Last, I will just summarize the takeaways or expected learning outcomes of our first part, that all of us now appreciate that NEP is a document which is evolved since 1987 with imprints or implications of various national and international, you can say, decisions taken during this period. Namely, India signing Washington Accord, India expecting globalization as its policy, then UNO's report, Brundtland report of our common future, where India has accepted it, that report, Bonn's Declaration, Johannesburg Declaration, India is signatory, concept of sustainable development goal, and India's commitment to achieve those 17 goals by 2040 and regarding education by 2030. So, and you can say evolution or revolution in IT. So these are the imprints. NEP is based on 5 pillars. You will find all pillars are based on either sustainability or Washington Accord. And most importantly, we are heading towards outcome-based education. Hence, accountability is the important pillar. We have understood as per NEP what is the concept of education. It is going towards individuals' learning and learning outcome. We have understood purpose, aim of education. We have understood how to move forward with this to achieve this aim and objectives. We have understood very clearly what does NEP says about in which areas we have to develop, what is the expected length, depth, breadth of learning. Everything will be outcome based. So first we have to define every time learning outcome. Now system will move from teaching centric to learning centric, and our role as a teacher is not no more preacher, but it is facilitator. And 3 domains we will be handling for imparting education. Each domain has got its own level, and depending upon the level, the stage of that domain, we have to ensure that it is reflected through the learning outcome. So this is the summary of our whatever we have discussed in last 75 minutes. Now please advise me whether we should take a break for 5 minutes or we should continue. Anybody, whether Ankit is there, whether Tushar sir is there, whether anybody, Deepak sir, I find you, Rupali ma'am, I find you. What do you feel? Should we take break for 5 minutes? Ankit, anybody? Okay, now I decide we will break for 5 minutes and we will again join at 12:30 or so.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, Anup sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So let us wait for only 5 minutes, then we will again come.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes.
Thank you, Anup sir. So, hello friends, should we start? Raut sir, I find him. Anup sir, sir, should we start?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. Are sir, hello.
Namaskar,
How
sir.
are you, sir? How are you?
Fine, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank
We can start, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, let us take the recap and let us go ahead. Two things we know that in national education policy, we are taking journey from local to pan India and alignment with globe. So it is a journey of local to global. And we have understood what do we mean by education. We will be implementing in 3 domains. Each of the domain may be cognitive, maybe psychomotor, or maybe affinitive, that is behavior. There are stages and levels. So we are moving towards level-based education, competency-based education, and local to global to enable its smooth transfer. Statutory bodies at national level have provided some frameworks. These frameworks are necessary to standardize and accommodate various types of education, various modes of education into one comprehensive common framework. We know modes of education may be formal, informal, non-formal, online, offline, experiential. So learning can have any mode and all modes of learning are recognized in NEP. Second thing, the learnings will be on various levels or various competency based. We are moving towards competency based level and competencies will differ from level to level. So we are going into level based. Now to accommodate various modes, various types into one integrated framework, our statutory bodies have provided importantly 3 types of framework. First is credit framework, second is qualification framework, and third is curriculum framework. Credit framework is about learning hours, and depending upon the number of learning hours and level of learning after assessment, it will be recognized, giving certain what is no awards, what is called as credit. So let us understand first the credit framework. It is given through the document National Credit Framework. So it is published on April 2000, modified and published in 2023. And remember, it comprises UGC, AICTE, and all other, you can say, including Ministry of Education. So it is a national level credit framework applicable to all present regularity and statutory authorities. So one thing, whether I am under UGC or whether I am under AICTE or Council of Architecture or anybody, whether technical, professional, general or vocational education, this credit framework is applicable to each and every institute. So that is why it is national. So what is the basic premise of this framework is these credits are a function of achieving desired learning outcomes for a program, course, training determined by the successful assessment. So remember 2 points important. Achievement of learning outcomes and assessment, which will this you can say assessment, after assessment only attainment will be given. So 2 important aspects will be learning outcomes have to be what is desired learning outcome, expected learning outcome, that should be very specifically given for any program, course or training. And second thing, it has to be assessed, and only after attainment of by the learner of those outcomes are established, the credits are to be given. So this is the basic thing. So whether it is exam course or non-exam course, assessment and attainment are to be given, then only credits can be given. Second thing, what are the dimensions of this credit from? Number one, the components of learning are credits can be earned. Remember the word earned. It is not marks are given. Credits are earned. So it is about earning by the learner. From where a learner can earn the credit after completing academic education. Now we know what do we mean by academic education. We have discussed in depth in our first part of it. So it can be earned by academic education. It can be earned by vocational education, training, skilling, or any type of experiential learning or relevant experience or proficiency. So from everywhere and anywhere, learning is done. A student can earn the credit provided it is assessed by the some competent authority and attainment of expected outcome is ascertained, then credit can be given. What is the takeaway for we, the educator? Anything and everything which is done needs to be creditized. So we have to see up till now for theory, practical, tutorial, etc., academic work, we are very well competent and versed with examining, assessing, giving marks or giving credits. So it was well defined over the period. But other dimensions of learning, such as suppose NSS or sports or curricular activity or internship or field visit or industrial visit or field project, such type of learnings, we up till now probably have not assessed or we have not really specified the learning, expected learning outcome and assessment for attainment of this outcome. That framework was not available. When we say we will be having that, everybody has to go for this NCRF, that is credit framework. It means for exam or non-exam, any type of learning will have to be creditized. Creditized means outcome should be very well defined. Assessment has to be there, and attainment of, you can say, expected outcome has to be ascertained. So these are the major dimensions of learning, you can say, this credit framework. Now, learning is again, you can say credits are related with learning hours. What does this framework states? That what do we mean by 1 year? The number of credits per year will be 4040 minimum with minimum 1200 learning hours. So when we say 1 academic year, up till now we used to say 1 academic year means 2 semesters. 1 semester means 90 teaching days. Probably this is what we used to specify by a semester or a year. But henceforth, we will be specifying 1 year as 1 year means 2 semesters. 1 year means minimum 1200 learning hours, and 1 semester after 1200 learning hours will be creditized for 40 minimum. So every semester will have minimum 20 credits and minimum 600 hours of national learning. A student, a fast learner, can even go beyond 1200 learning hours, but minimum learning hours 1 year has to be minimum 1200 and minimum credits can earn, or a student has to earn is 40. So accordingly, credit points are also calculated by level versus the number of credits earned. Now for us, the takeaway from this national credit framework is that what do we understand or what are the components of learning hours or learning? It can be classroom teaching, learning hours or tutorial. It can be lab work, practical, practicum, innovation, projects, incubation. It can be yearly, half-yearly examination, class test, quiz, other assessment, formative assessment. It can be part of curricular or experiential learning, such as you can say fine arts, music, handicraft, traditional work, heritage work, social work. It can be debate, discussion, essay writing, recitation, story writing. It can be celebration of festivals in the institute, music performance, drama, contest, competitions, hackathons, Olympiad, self-defense classes, value education classes, career counseling session. So whatever hours are there for this, they can be the component of learning. Sports, games, physical activity, life skills, social community work, field visit, vocational education, skilling, field visit, project, industry attachment, internship, apprenticeship, on-job training. So everything is encompassed in learning. Now, once we understand everything comes under learning, now what should be the minimum distribution in our, generally in our university or in our autonomous status? We describe teaching schemes and examination scheme for every semester. Each examination scheme of our every semester should adhere to this. What is that? Minimum learning hours. We should be able to demonstrate that per semester our minimum learning hours are 600. Minimum number of teaching per semester, generally we say 90. In NEP, there is not mention of teaching days, but learning hours are mentioned very clearly. Now, the basis is minimum learning weeks per semester as per NEP or this instrument like National Credit Framework is 15 to 18. So if I consider a semester, if I consider if I consider a semester consists of 15 weeks, then minimum learning hours per week will be 600 upon 50, that is 40. If our academic calendar shows our semester is of say 18 weeks, then it will be 30. So what is the outcome? That our minimum learning hours per week should not be less than 35. Our are issued for implementation of NEP by state government clearly the mandate of 1200 learning hours for 40 credits per year and also mentions minimum 35 learning hours per week. So what is the takeaway for us? In our teaching scheme, we are having various columns like serial number, then you can say NEP vertical ABCDE, major, minor, ICAS, etc. What type of course. Then LTP, how many lectures per week, how many hours of practicals per week. And then we give credits, how many credits, and summation of credits in that column should not be less than 20. So it should be minimum 20, maximum 22. And the number one, it will not be a teaching scheme, it will be a learning scheme. So our will be learning hours per week. And next column of learnings per week, the summation of in that column at the end, generally it is about 28 to 32, which we used to call as learning, teaching load per week or something like that. In that column, our sum should not be less than 35. It should be around 35 to 40. Suppose our teaching load, what we call number of learning hours for theory, practical, etc., comes out to be 28, 30. Write down there plus 5 to 6 for assessment and self-learning. So minimum learning hours per week. Our document should show not less than 35. This is the takeaway from National Credit Framework. And for allotting the credits, 1 hour of theory or tutorial learning per week is equal to 1 credit. Now, from where this 1 hour equal to 1 credit comes? As per National Credit Framework, 15 hours of learning for theory or tutorial constitute 15 to 18. So let us take 15. 15 hours of learning per semester means 1 credit. Since one semester consists of 15 weeks, therefore 15 hours of semester divided by 15 weeks comes out to be 1 hour per week. That is why for tutorial and theory, 1 hour of learning per week means 1 credit. So in my scheme of learning, teaching and learning, if I have got a theory subject which shows 2 hours of learning per week, then it becomes a 2 credit course. If it is 4 hours is shown, then it becomes a 4 credit course. This is for theory and tutorial. But for practicals and experiential learning, the National Credit Framework states that 30 learning hours per semester will give 1 credit. So 30 hours per semester means 30 hours in 15 weeks. So 30 divided by 15, that is 2 hours per week, constitute 1 credit for practical. So in my teaching learning scheme, for all practical or practicum or field project work, suppose I have got a practical of 2 hours, generally we have got 2 hours practical, then credits will be 1 credit. If it is 3 hours practical, credit will be 1.5 credit. The credits can be in decimal. And for field work and internship, etc., 30 hours is 1 credit, but 15 hours are additionally given for writing a report, etc. So 30 hours will constitute 1 credit, but additional throughout the semester, 15 hours are also provided for write-up. So this is how our hours, learning hours are converted into credit. And the takeaway is that credits are depending upon learning hours per semester. So every semester we should be able to produce a document in our academic calendar as well as in our teaching learning scheme that our one semester is of minimum 600 learning hours, and 600 learning hours means minimum 20 credits. Weekly basis, our per week learning hours are minimum 35 if we are having 18 weeks, or minimum 40 if our academic calendar shows 15 weeks working. 1 hour of learning per week in case of theory and practical will enable student to earn 1 credit after assessment, successful assessment, and you can say documented proof that student has attained the expected learning outcome, then only credit will be given. To summarize, suppose there are 3 students. One student has secured, say, minimum 100 marks, that subject is there. So now 40 will be internal assessment, 60 will be external assessment. And suppose one student earns or gets below 40 minimum passing marks, say 35 marks. Second student gets just passing 40 marks. And third student gets 95 marks. Those who have not successfully passed or assessment, so it will be presumed that he has not attained the learning outcomes. So he will not get the credit. But both the students who are declared pass and declared that the student has attained, whether marks are 40 or 90, both will give the same credit. Grades will be different. So ultimately grade points will be different, but credits will be same for all those who have been declared as successful in assessment. Thereby, certifying that student has attained the expected learning outcome. That is why our each course will have to map with COs, or even assessment we have to do by mapping with attainment of CO, and we have to decide level of attainment, etc. But to sum up, credits are after attending certain learning hours. Learning hours constitute everything from theory, practical, tutorial, fieldwork, etc. But credits are awarded after successful assessment and demonstration by the student that he has attained the learning outcome. Then credits will be given, and credit distribution is as given in this slide. So what is the outcome for us when we prepare our teaching learning scheme? Our weekly total learning hours should not be displayed less than 35. Otherwise, when at national level or transfer of institution, that part will come. A student, our document will may show that our scheme is of minimum 20 and maximum 22 credit. But if our learning hours show 30 learning hours, then tomorrow when equivalence part will come, one scheme with 30 learning hours giving 22 credit and other scheme showing 40 learning hours giving same 22 credit, problem may come that even though you have allotted 22 credit, but student has undergone less than for 35 learning hours or less than 600 learning hours per semester. So we have to ensure to comply with credits per semester and learning hours per semester. Our theory tutorial will be shown 1 hour as 1 credit for our practicals, and other experiential learning 2 hours as 1 credit. This is the takeaway for National Credit Framework. Now, since CBCS, everybody is aware of it, I have only taken the highlight. Will be dealing more on qualification framework and curriculum framework. So let's understand in depth what about national qualification framework. On this basis, then NSQF, NHEQF, NBEQF, various depending upon type of education, various qualification frameworks. Just to go in discussion with NQF, I just recall education means 3 domains. Each domain has got different stages. In higher education, we have to deal with higher stages of each of the domain. Since domains are at various levels and at various stages from minimum to maximum, so we are also moving towards level-based education, competency-based education. And for each level of education, it will be associated with certain qualification statements. Those qualification statements will be for 3 domains of cognitive, skill, and behavior. This is the fundamental principle on which National Qualification Framework is based. So let us understand one by one what this NQF is. If anybody wants to go into detail, so this you can say publication of Handbook for National Qualification Framework developers with reference, special reference to India. This document one can go through. Why I am showing this cover page with special reference to India? That itself means more than in other countries than India are also involved. So it is a handbook for other countries also for qualification framework developer. The outcome is This qualification framework is a global concept, and we are also aligning ourselves with the global standard by accepting certain system called as qualification framework. So it is a journey from local to global that is, you can say, evident from this document. Now, this document has given very systematically every step. What is qualification? What is qualification frameworks? What are levels? What is national qualification framework? And for each type of education, that is why initially we have understood the types of education. For each type of education, how this national qualification work framework is designed, and finally how one comprehensive framework is come out in the form of NHEQF, National Higher Education Qualification Framework. So it is a complete stepwise process and design through which NHEQF has come out. So first stage, in any type of education, various frameworks are given. For vocational, NVEQF is given. For skill, NSQF is given. And then finally, we have got NHEQF. But fundamental common things are definition of qualification. So let us understand what qualification means, then understand what qualification framework means, then understand what is national qualification framework, and then we will try to understand what is national higher education qualification framework. Now, all the documents very clearly define what is qualification. So qualification, traditionally we know that it is something award given after prescribed program or study or training program. Say even after this FDP, all participants will get some certificate. That is what in now qualification framework terms, that certificate itself is also a qualification. It is award given after successful, you can say, completion of prescribed program of training or study. This is our traditional way. But now the qualification means it is to be awarded by competent authority. So now the certificate distributed other than anywhere by which are not recognized as competent authority will not be considered as qualification. There are various shops and centers wherein certain programs are run and certificates are issued. Maybe internship certificates are issued, but unless they are endorsed by some competent authority, that will not be considered in NEP or as per this framework. So qualification has to be awarded by competent authority, very clearly mentioned. And competent authority is such as, they have given the example, college or university. Now that award by the competent authority should be for what? It should be as a recognition of the attainment by the learner of the expected learning outcome. So what does it mean? It clearly states that expected learning outcome should be very well defined for that program or training or study or education, whatever name you call it. First and foremost requirement before issuing qualification is stating the expected learning outcome out of that program. Second is attainment, ensuring as by assessment the attainment of the student of those expected learning outcome after successful completion of a particular program of study. Now, credit framework talks about learning hour. Suppose you want to give some credit for that program, that learning hours should be very clearly mentioned. Expected learning outcome should be very clearly mentioned. Assessment should be very clearly done. Attainment should be, you can say, verified. And after doing this, competent authority should issue certain award. Then it will be termed as qualification as per national qualification framework. So scope of definition of qualification is very well stated, and let us understand that scope very clearly before we implement this NSQF or NHEQF. Remember, it is very clearly mentioned that they are to be awarded after assessment and evaluation of learning level. So level should also be very clear depending upon the learning outcome. The level of program has to be very clearly given, and for that particular level, assessment and evaluation is to be done by a competent body that determines the achievement of the student of expected learning outcome to the given standard. So some standard, some benchmark has to be mentioned for that particular level of learning outcome. Then assessment is to be measured against the set benchmark or state standard. And once that state standard or benchmark is achieved, then only you can say qualification is to be awarded. Now, each qualification is to be aligned with credit system. So credit system talks about learning hours. There are two features of learning credit system. Number one, it is about learning hours, and it is about assessment and attainment of defined learning outcomes. So this qualification is to be aligned with academic workload of student, means learning hours. In a chosen program, how many learning hours are provided? Student must complete those learning hours. Student must demonstrate attainment of learning outcome. That then he will get credit, and those credit will be aligned with the qualification that is level based. According to this, the certification or qualification will be awarded. So this qualification will signify the competency. So as I told you, we are going towards competency-based education and level-based education. So once we give qualification, it will be certification that student is now competent to follow certain occupational, you can say, or occupation or vocation. Now, once we have understood what is qualification, second thing which is necessary for us to understand is qualification framework. Now we have understood credit, we have understood qualification, we have understood that qualifications are to be aligned with credit. Now once qualifications we have understood, let us understand what is framework. Now this framework is a way of structuring existing and new qualification. There is scope given for new qualifications also. Now these qualifications are defined in terms of learning outcomes. What should that learning outcomes reflect? The graduate attributes, program learning outcome, course learning outcome. So those learning, whatever learning outcomes we will define, they should reflect attributes, program learning and course learning outcome together. It will be called as expected learning outcome. Now, what are those outcomes? Those outcomes are nothing but statements. Which statement? Statements what the learner is expected to know, or is expected to understand, or expected to do, or expected to demonstrate on successful completion of approved program. When we will call it as a successful completion? When we assess, evaluate, examine, and student demonstrate the attainment, then we say that it is a successful completion of the learning. So this is how the qualification framework basic definition says. So it will be competency-based education and training, and outcome-based learning constitute important aspects of qualification framework. So when we say that we are adopting NHEQF or NSQF or any qualification framework, it means we are adopting to competency-based education and training or outcome-based learning. So whole education is shifted towards OB, that is outcome-based education, and learners. So that is why outcome-based learning. This is the fundamental, you can say, foundation of qualification framework. What will be the domains which are expected? Knowledge, skill, values, attitude acquired or possessed by individual student are more important than modes of acquiring them. So what mode a student is in, the online mode or offline mode or blended mode? That is why everything is permitted, whether formal learning, informal learning, or non-formal learning or experiential learning. Mode is not as important as the attributes in the domain of knowledge, skill, and values. This is what is the, again, important part of framework. Now, everything, every level and every qualification will be very well, you can say, stated with certain statement. So everything will be specified. What are to be specified? Qualification specifications are general statement of the typical achievement of learner who have been awarded with qualification on successful completion of program, leading to award such as certificate, diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctoral degree. Tomorrow new qualification, fellowship, etc. others may come. So there is scope for accommodating any new qualification also, but they will be allowed. Every certificate will be associated with general statement. Every diploma will be associated with statement. Every degree will be associated with statement. Masters or doctoral also. And these specified qualification statements or qualification specification, they are given nationally by this national qualification framework. So every institute, whether located at place A or Y, whether in education, training, or skilling, will be provided, will have to provide competency-based, outcome-based, outcome learning based, and each qualification should be provided with statements. Now, those statements are given nationally by everybody. So this is how the standardization. So qualification specifications are standardized and given by statutory bodies. We have to align our syllabus, our program to map with the specifications already given through National Qualification Framework. Now, once we have understood what is qualification, what is qualification framework, let us understand what is national qualification framework. Probably this is the epitome of our part one interaction or earlier discussion. Now, what does this is complete integration of various types of education, various levels of education into one comprehensive framework, which is common for everybody in India, and it is aligned with international. So what is this national qualification framework? It is the instrument for classification of qualifications. How this qualification is done? According to the set of criteria for specified levels of learning. See, each word is important. So levels will be specified. For each level, specified level, set of criteria will be given, and all those will be provided into one instrument. And this is integrating and coordinating qualification from each education sector, training sector, skilling sector, online, offline, any mode of education into a single comprehensive qualification framework. Now, this answers the question why everybody should be aware and understand this qualification framework, because it is a single comprehensive qualification framework in whole country. So it is a national qualification framework. Everybody will have to align itself with the same qualification specification into the same level, and will have to follow this framework only. And this framework is aligned with international. So it is the instrument of integrating all types of educations, all levels of education all stages in the domain, 3 domains of education into a single comprehensive framework. So we have to understand this single comprehensive framework known as National Qualification Framework from that perspective. Now, since as I was telling, this national qualification framework is aligned with international standards. So our journey is from local to global. This is the framework through which the local college is aligned with national level and nation is aligned with international level. The basic alignment with international is Bologna process India has adopted. Now it is the overarching framework under European higher education area. So for European Union countries, whatever qualification framework they have designed, India has found it more acceptable to the global. So India has aligned itself with this Bologna process, which is for European Union. Now their descriptor, as I told you, qualifications for each level will be some award, certificate, degree, diploma, postgraduate degree, diploma, PhD. So for each qualification, there will be a statement or descriptor. In case of international qualification framework, they are called as Dublin descriptors. Now these Dublin descriptors are general statement about the learning outcome that are expected to be achieved by the student after completing the study, after assessment, ascertaining that attainment has achieved, and then giving the qualification. So those Dublin descriptors, if we understand national qualification descriptors are aligned with it, it will be easier for us to understand. So let us look in one or two slides. Let us understand those Dublin descriptors. Those are similar descriptors are adopted by our country in our national descriptor. So Dublin descriptors are awarded to the student. Now I am reading from Dublin. Number one, the student must have demonstrated knowledge and understanding, cognitive domain, in the field of study that builds upon the general secondary education, that is higher education. That is why we have defined what is higher education. And typically at a level, so it is level-based education, while supported by, see, this is the takeaway for us, advanced textbooks, including some aspects that will be informed by knowledge of forefront of their field of study. So what is the takeaway for us? In our list of textbooks and reference books, we must have certain advanced textbooks, because when internationally it will be compared one degree with other degree, probably it will be seen what are the references and textbooks through which teaching and learning has been, you can say, done. And second thing, it should have certain forefront of their field of study. Whatever may be the level, whether it is certificate or PhD, if there are certain references or textbooks, these two aspects should be covered. Second, what does second descriptor say? Students should be able to apply their knowledge, so psychomotor domain, knowledge and understanding in a manner that indicates professional approach to their work or vocation, and have competencies typically demonstrated through devising and sustaining arguments and solving problems within their field of study. Critical, analytical problem solving. These stages of Bloom's have to be ensured while our devising syllabus. It should be clearly seen that it is a competency-based syllabus and the assessment or focus is on critical, analytical, and problem-solving techniques. Third descriptor is to ability to gather and interpret relevant data to inform judgments that include reflection relevant to social, scientific, and ethical issues. So our curriculum or syllabus we should be able to show that through this student will their ability on this parameter is also achieved. Student can communicate information, idea, problem, solution to both specialist and non-specialist. And fifth one is lifelong learning skill. So these are the descriptors given by Dublin, and similar to these descriptors, our national qualification framework and our qualification descriptors. Now it will be easy for us to understand our framework and our descriptor. Now, national qualification framework in India is for all types of education. Now, why I have tried to recap types of education? Because this framework needs the understanding of types of education. So it may be vocational education, maybe technical education, maybe general academic education, maybe higher education, maybe professional education. For everybody, national qualification framework is already in place in India. For vocational, the framework is NEP-2020. We will, in a slide or two, we will understand, we know what is vocational education. It is generally after, you can say up to 12, 8+4. So ITI and part of diploma, polytechnic comes under vocational education. We already discussed what comes under vocational education. For them, framework is there. We have got framework for vocational education qualification, NEP-2020. We have got qualification for skills qualification framework, and everything is now unified and integrated for higher education to National Higher Education Qualification Framework. Why I say integrated and unified? Because higher education will have vocational component, higher education will have skill component, higher education will have academic component, you can say component. So NHEQF will have level-based relevant vocational qualification descriptors, skill qualification descriptor as per relevant and level-based, and of course, higher education qualification descriptor, because higher education will integrate, it will be complex of all types of education together. So in before 2013, around 2012 or 2013, NEP-2020 came into existence. I told you that National Education Policy is an evolved document. So till 2013, India has already adopted for vocational education this qualification framework and levels. You will find that time the levels were 1 to 10. Now they have been reduced in NHEQF 1 to 8. But we should understand this is the first qualification framework came into existence in India. You will find even before level 1, recognition of prior learning. No, what mode is not important. Even a student has not gone into any schooling, there was a provision for recognition of prior learning. For us, say up to level 2 was class 10, and 3, 4, 5 was diploma, 11, 12, and third year of diploma. That was level 3, 4, 5. Bachelor's degree, level 6 and 7. Advanced diploma and bachelor degree. Master's degree 8 and 9. And doctorate was 10. And certifying authorities were also very clearly given, such as university or board of technical education or school board. So this document of qualification framework came before 2013, which was later updated for skill qualification framework. Now we have understood vocational qualification framework. In a slide, 1 or 2 slides, let us understand skill qualification framework, because that is the base for NHEQF. NHEQF is the basis for NHEQF. So this national skill qualification framework is a competency-based framework. Remember, learning-based, competency-based, level-based, which organizes qualification according to the level. Level of what? Level of knowledge, skill, aptitude, and responsibility. So domains are fixed, defined in terms of learning outcome. which the learner must acquire through formal, non-formal, informal mode. Mode is not important. It should comprise of academics, vocational, skilling, and experiential learning, including relevant experience and professional levels acquired subject to assessment. So each word subject to assessment, any type of education, any mode of education, but defined learning outcome in terms of, you can say, domains and successful attainment depending upon the level and organization of that qualification is the National Skills Qualification Framework. Now, these levels are defined in terms of learning outcome, which the learner, regardless of whether they were acquired through formal, non-formal, or informal mode of learning, is important. This is what is important thing we should understand in case of NSQF. Now NSQF, earlier NVEQF was from 1 to 10. Initially NSQF was also 1 to 10, but now on 6th June 2013, NSQF has come out with the all provisions. They are in accordance with NEP and credit framework. Now they have given 8 levels. Level 1 to 8, 1 to 2.5 and 3, they are for school education. 3.5, 4, and level 4.5 is for diploma, that is technical education. Level 4.5, that is third year of diploma, and first year of higher education is for higher education. So level 5 to 8. Each level represents different level of skills, complexity of knowledge, responsibility, and autonomy required to demonstrate the competency commensurate with that level. Level 1 framework represents lowest, while 8 represent highest, that is, say, doctorate. So we know that now this national qualification is the instrument for single comprehensive framework. Now, in case this instrument, they classify and recognize qualification on a continuum level from 4.5 to 8. 1 to 4 are school. So 4.5 to 8 is for higher education. Now on that, so you can say global qualification framework, European qualification framework came into national qualification framework. National qualification framework was framed for each type of education, vocational, skill, and now it is epitome is in terms of national higher education qualification framework. So each of us will be operating number 1 in credit framework and second in national higher education qualification framework. Now the area, what is given in this instrument by statutory body, we have to adopt and implement it. So what is the flexibility available with us and what is that we cannot change, we have to accept as it is. We have understood from credit framework, 1200 hours we have to accept per year, 40 to 44 credits we have to accept per year, 600 learning hours, 35 to 40 learning hours per week, for 20 to 22 credits per semester. So this is something which we cannot change. We have to accept and we have to fit ourselves into that. Similarly, for qualification framework also, we have to fit ourselves into the framework given. Let us understand within 2 or 3 slides what are those characteristics wherein we have to fit it. The fundamental premise underlying this NHEQF is that higher education qualifications such as certificate, diploma, degrees are awarded based on demonstrated achievement of learning outcomes and academic standards. So we have to set academic standard benchmark and we have to set learning outcome and we have to ensure students after learning and assessment demonstrate the achievement. Then depending upon the level, only after you can say demonstration of attainment of those attributes or specifications, the qualification will be awarded for the given program or whatever training. So this is the first principle on which NHEQF based. Now this framework is a comprehensive framework, single comprehensive national level framework for higher education that classifies classification based on set of performance criteria. So we have to adopt whatever set of performance criteria are given in this document. We at every institute teacher, everybody has to accept that set of criteria throughout the nation, which is approved nationally and comparable with international quality. This is the second characteristics we should keep in mind, and it specifies the types of qualification and levels of learning. So corresponding to the level, qualification will be given. So these are the three characteristics of NHEQF. When we will implement national education policy, this credit framework and these three basic characteristics of higher education qualification framework, we cannot disturb. We have to go in this framework only. So let us understand what statutory bodies have provided us in terms of levels, qualifications, and qualification descriptor. These three things nobody can change. Everybody will have to take same level for same qualification for level and same descriptors corresponding to that type of qualification and that type of level. So say for example, for higher education, level 4.5, 5 and 5.5, 3 years undergraduate degree program. Level 4.5 means undergraduate certificate program. Its duration will be first year means 2 semesters. 2 semesters means 1200 learning hours. 1200 learning hours after successful assessment and demonstration of you can say attainment will entail earning of 40 to 44 credits. This is the meaning of level 4.5. And if the student opt to exit, additional 4 credit, which will be in the form of skill enhancement course or internship or experiential learning, will have to be earned by the student. Then we will say that he has attained the level of 4.5 and college or university can issue the certificate. So this is the first framework. Similarly, for level 5, it will be diploma. So 2 years means 4 semesters. 4 semesters means 2,400 learning hours. 2,400 learning hours means 80 to 88 credit. And if the student wish to exit after level 5, he will be issued diploma with, after ascertaining the qualification descriptor, which will be, we will soon understand, which are given with that level. Similar is for level 5.5, level 6, levels for our 4 years program, then level 6.5, that's 7 level and 8 is doctoral program. So now levels are very well given, qualifications are very well given. They are aligned with credit framework in terms of learning hours and credits to be earned. So this mapping is already done, and every institute and individual will have to follow this framework with respective level, qualification, learning hours, and credit earned. Now, descriptors we will have to understand with which are mapped with each level. Now, qualification levels and learning outcome. Let us understand, because this in toto we will have to apply at our own university or institute. Now, higher education qualification. Now we understand what does it mean. What do we mean by higher education? 12 onwards. Qualification we understand, which will lead to certificate, diploma, degree, shall be described by NSQF or NHEQF in terms of learning outcomes. Now they are described by NHEQF, and we have to adopt their description, their specification as such for university or autonomous institution. Now each level is structured based on the defined learning outcome, that is statement. So these statements are given already by this framework of what learner is expected to know, understand, do on successful completion at a given specific level. Students should be able to demonstrate the attributes in terms of expected learning outcome. Important is whether acquired through any mode, direct, in person, face to face, open. That is why hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
There was
Yes, sir.
some. I am extremely sorry. There was, I think I don't know. Okay, is my slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Slide
you.
is not visible.
Slide visible, sir?
No, sir.
No,
Just
no,
a minute, sir.
you
Just
are,
a minute.
no, sir.
I will see. I think we'll have to again share it or something. Just a minute, please. Can anybody guide me how to reshare it? Oh,
Sir, at the bottom there is a share option with upward arrow.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is it visible now, sir?
Yes, sir, visible, but
Yes,
not
sir,
in full
visible.
screen mode.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes. Now, is it full screen?
Yes, sir. Now it's
Thank you.
visible and full screen. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. There was small technical problem from my side. I'm extremely sorry. So, am I audible?
Yes, sir, clearly.
Yes. Okay. So, let's continue. So, this qualification levels and learning outcomes, they are very clearly given in this document, and we have to follow in totality whatever is provided regarding level, qualification, and specification. So this specification clearly mentions on 5 different statements what is expected from the student at each level. Say in case of NVEQF, which was earlier to 2014, only 1 minute I will get just to understand that how it got evolved. Even for level 1 to 3, that is school level, what is expected in 5 different categories was given. For say 4, 5, 6, that is diploma, what we generally call, and 6th level then was our first year. So what is expected in terms of work in familiar situation? So it was very clearly given even in the year 2013. After that, NSQF came into picture, and now NSQF and NHEQF. Now these descriptors, I repeat, are common as a part of national framework, and everybody of us have to follow before issuing a qualification of that particular level. Attainment of this specification is to be ensured, and then that qualification is to be awarded. Now, these are national level, evolved from world standard, NVEQF, NSQF, now they are the part of NHEQF. Now, each level of this NHEQF is described by the statement of learning outcomes in 5 domains. We remember Dublin parameter. So, similarly to the Dublin parameter, in our case also NHEQF, there are 5 statements. There are statements in these 5 domains. Which are those domains? One is theoretical knowledge, professional knowledge, knowledge domain, cognitive domain. Second is professional and technical skills and expertise. What is expected exactly from each of the level? Very clearly specified. Aptitude, mindset, soft skills, employment readiness, and entrepreneurship skills. Broad learning outcome and level of responsibility which our certificate holder or a graduate can take up. We have to prepare the student for their future job roles. And those future job roles are divided in 5 domains. Those 5 domains are based on 3 domains of knowledge, skill, and behavior. And for each of these 5 domains, very clear cuts, the expectations are given in this framework, and we have to take as such, and we have to design our syllabus. As first year, what syllabus should be there? So whatever descriptions are given. Second year, what is to be given? Whatever is specified in this. So this document is the guiding line for our syllabus framing, delivering, and assessment. Now, what is expected depending upon the level in professional theoretical knowledge? It is what a learner should know and understand with reference to the subject or field of knowledge. So one very clear statement, I will show you as per level also. It described in terms of depth, breadth, kinds of knowledge, and complexity. Depth of knowledge can be general specified. Breadth of knowledge can range from a single topic to multidisciplinary. Kind of knowledge from concrete to abstract, from segmented to cumulative. And complexity will be combination of kind, depth, and breadth. On this parameter, the qualification statement, depending upon the level, you will find they are defined. In case of professional technical skills are expected, the professional skills, what a learner should be able to do, cognitive and creative skills involving use of intuitive, logical, and critical thinking. See, higher level of cognitive domain. Communication skills involving written, oral, literacy, numeracy to common as well as specialized audience. Interpersonal skills and generic skills to perform a task or job competently, productively, and independently, as well as a part of team. And basic skills involving dexterity and use of method, material, tool, instrument for performing job, including IT skills needed for a given level of study and work. Similarly, for aptitude also it is very clearly given what is the scope as well as broad learning outcome and what a student should be able to take up as a responsibility that a learner can be interested. Say certificate level, this responsibility will be different. Diploma level, it will be different. Degree level, it will be different. Professional degree, it will be different. Postgraduate, it will be different. Doctorate, it will be different. But it will be very clearly specified for 4.5 to level 8. For each level in these 5 domains, what is expected, that is given by this document. So let us take learning outcome descriptor in 3 domains. So first domain, suppose it is about knowledge and understanding. You will find for level 4.5, the element of descriptor is same, knowledge and understanding, but expected demonstration of the acquisition of knowledge and understanding at level 4.5 is different than at level 5 than different than 5.5. What does it mean? I will not read it because it is already available. But what is the takeaway for us when I am designing the syllabus for level 4.5 or delivering the syllabus at 4.5 or assessing the student or examining or evaluating the student for the level of 4.5, my mandate is this is what in terms of knowledge and understanding I should do. If I am doing it for second year, now level 4.5 means our first year. 5 means second year. If the student exit, we call it diploma level. The level and expected outcome in the same domain and knowledge you will find is different. If it is 3 years degree, it will become more, you can say, deep in this. What is the takeaway? This document is given as a mandate by the statutory authorities. We cannot change this document. What we have to do, we have to fit ourselves into this, and later on, when accountability or auditing will come, comparison of our syllabus at national level or with other institutions, this is what will be verified and we are accountable for this document. Suppose I go to second domain, that is application of knowledge. You will find for certificate level application is different. Diploma level, same level of skills, and you can say application of knowledge is different, and it is for degree, it is different. What does it mean? When I design the laboratory for my first year, that is level 4.5, semester 1 and 2, my learning outcome are different. If I am designing my experiments for third year or fourth year, my, you can say, expectation of learning outcomes are different. According to that, my experiments and my outcomes, and you can say what type of subjects and what type of laboratories and experiment I am giving to my student should map with the level. And that is what, when the word accountability comes, we are accountable to follow this, you can say, framework. So skills required to perform or accomplish the task. Again, you will find it is different level it is given. Employment ready skills. Depend for certificate level, employability skills are different than diploma holder and different for 3 years graduate. In case of affective domain, that is values, ethics, dispositions, that level also moral, constitutional, humanistic, ethical, and moral values, depending upon the level, that is qualification, they are very well specified. What type, what is expected in terms of moral values or ethical values or constitutional value from a certificate holder, that is a skilled worker, to a manager. Because certificate holder will be a skilled worker, diploma will be supervisor, degree holder will be manager, higher qualification will become scientist or still higher level. So expectation of levels in all 3 domains also differ, and they are already given. Now, depending, because now we are approaching 10 minutes, we have to keep for question and answer. Let me come finally culminating into redesigning our undergraduate program. So if it is level 4.5, you will find entry qualification is given. It may be 12th grade pass for first year as well as 10th grade pass, but who has done 3,600 hours of learning, he can also enter into level 4.5. And outcome wise, how much level 4.0, this is how it is integrated. All types of education, formal, informal, or non-formal, vocational, technical, general, you will find everything when we say level 4.5. What do we mean? That the student has completed 1 year of 3 or 4 years degree program, or a student who is pursuing third year of 3-year diploma, or a student who is pursuing second year of second year diploma after 12, or a student who has completed 10 grade pass and 3 years of NTC courses or equivalent. All those are put together, and whomsoever has completed this type of courses will be termed as equivalent, and all of them will be called as level, attend the level 4.5, and they can enter into level 5. This is how the integration of vocational, general education and technical education is done through this qualification framework. Say for example, somebody says that I am in second year. Now second year means 4 level, in the level of 4.5. And what are the 5 things? See, NSQF has very clearly mentioned what is the knowledge expected, skill expected, entrepreneurship mindset expected, judgment expected, and responsibility expected. All these are very clearly specified, and they will be termed as equivalent in terms of 5. Now, since it was a clumsy, few points I have taken from those slides. When we say level 4.5, now level 4.5 means first year completed of higher education, or 3 years diploma completed, or 10 plus 3 plus 2 years of experience after 10 done, or even 8th class but have shown achievement of level 4. That is what anybody can come into 4.5. What does it mean? In university level first year, who can get entry once NEP is totally implemented? 12th pass can come. 10 plus 3 years diploma holder can come into direct second year. Even 8th standard student who has completed, you can say ITI plus 3 years of experience and pass can enter into first year. So let us understand what type of integration is going to happen. And at the end of first year, these are the attributes students are expected to know. At level 4.5, what type of responsibility a student should be able to do, and what type of skills is expected after first year or certificate level, very clearly mentioned, and we have to only ascertain attainment of this value. Now, job roles also they are specified. These are the qualification descriptors at level 4.5, say for first year I am taking. Now, on the basis of this NHEPF, final framework is LOCF, that is Learning Outcome Based Curriculum Framework. Now, we will be operating under this framework, credit framework, qualification framework, and curriculum framework. I have chosen for our today's discussion 2 frameworks because 3 hours we can only in a reasonable depth discuss 2, but we must know even curriculum framework is there, and it is the final document which takes care of credit framework, it takes care of qualification frameworks, it starts from POs, it gives COs, it gives qualification descriptor, it talks about what type of assessment, and it gives what type of textbooks and reference books should be there. So everything is compiled in this document known as LOCF. And finally, the verticals of NEP, everybody of us know there are A, B, C, D, E verticals such as choice of major minor, Indian knowledge system, co-curricular, experiential like intern, field-based on job, vocational is integrated in a regular, so vocational is there, technical is there, general is there, academic is there, multidisciplinary is there, humanities is there. languages are there, ability enhancement there, value education. So overall, you will find, to sum up, national education policy is a great change. It has got clearly specifies what is education, purpose, aims, what for. So clear mandate with the facilitator of education. It talks about 3 domains. For each domain, then it gives us a national framework under which everybody in India will have to operate, common for everybody. One is credit framework, other is qualification framework, and third is curriculum framework. And lastly, verticals of NEP are given by the state government. And our autonomy, our flexibility is subject to non-violation of credit framework, qualification framework, curriculum framework, and verticals. Under these common frameworks, each of us, whether autonomous, affiliated, or university, will be operating. So I think sometime we should give for 5 or 10 minutes for interaction if required. I am sincerely thankful to Professor Ram Meghe, Institute of Management and Research, Honorable Dr. Bamnoteso, very senior faculty, very senior my colleague. Then our Tushar Deshmukh sir, who was the leader in our university when I had opportunity of learning those things. So I am thankful to him. I am thankful to our UGC HRDC, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar, most importantly, our Director, Dr. Mohammad Atik sir, and my technical friends, Ankit, who really helps me a lot always. So thank you very much. If any question, let us discuss in a 5 and 10 minutes so that your time is not overshoot. I know how difficult it is to bear for 180 minutes by such a senior and learned faculty. I am very sure everybody of you are already available. If you know something more, please tell me so that it will be a learning for me also. And let us ensure that our learning outcomes for this program are attained so that UGC HRDC can issue you the certificate, because they have to ensure attainment of learning outcome before issuing any certificate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and insightful session. The participants, the forum is open for the discussion. If you have any queries or the questions or have any kind of observation, you can please note down here. Anyone, please. Yes, anyone has any questions or the queries? Any participants? Sir, one question is on the YouTube. The question is that the NHEQF, that is National Higher Education Qualification Framework, the UGC has presented a draft of that policy that has yet not be final. So, what are the expectation of the UGC from the HEI in this regard?
Probably earlier it was a draft, but if I am not wrong, final document has also come now, and it is a mandate for all of us to follow. Probably, as far as my knowledge goes, earlier it was in the form of draft, but if you see the UGC website, probably now that draft is converted into a final document. But mandate is there. Now, even if for a moment, if we consider it is still draft, but since NEP is already implemented since last year, the, you can say, qualification parameters and statements and descriptors and levels are now final. That is how GR etc. talks about levels according to the level certifications like certificate, diploma, degree, 4 years degree. So all level, everything is implemented already.
Thank you, sir. Yes, participants, is there any other question?
Sir, if I have missed anything, please correct me. If I have made some mistake, because I know Bamnote sir and Deshmukh sir are well learned about this than probably me. So if I have committed anything wrong, please correct me so that all participants get the correct if I have committed any mistake.
Yes, anyone else?
Probably, Ankit, you can conclude now.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
They become awkward if silence is there. They also
Yes.
become uneasy.
So on behalf of the Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Garge Baba, Amravati University, and the Professor Ram Meghe Institute of Technology and Research and Autonomous Institution, Badnera, Amravati, I express my sincere thanks to Professor Marathi sir for being with us and enlighten us and sparing his precious time for this flagship program. Sir, during this session, we have provided a clear-cut roadmap of this NCRF, NHQF and NHAQF and how it should be implemented and how should we attain to our learning objectives, the learning outcomes, and in terms of learning outcomes that would be aligned with this national education policy. So definitely we will try our best. Yes, there are a number of hurdles that things that should be not resolved by the HEI, or that should there should be some kind of policy that should be on the based on the UGC and the state government. But definitely some kind of solutions we will definitely find out towards this implementation. So on behalf of Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Garge Baba, Amravati University, and the Professor Ram Meghe Institute of Technology and Research, I once again extend my sincere thanks to you. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all the participants, especially Professor Bamnote sir and Professor Tushar sir for for their continued interaction during this session. And with the kind consent of Professor Marathi sir, I would like to declare that this session will be over here. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone. We will meet tomorrow with our tomorrow schedule. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.